The UFC is doing Moicano dirty, and he is still number 11 in the rankings. I have no clue why. I understand Holloway's ranking because a lot of people are complaining like, oh, Holloway, he should be above Gaethje, but he may not fight at 155 again, especially if he wins. So you don't want to have him above everyone if he's never going to fight there again. But you want to give him a ranking because he just beat number 3. So I guess that kind of makes sense, even though he still shouldn't be above Moicano. Because it's like, how is everyone else above Holloway, but Moicano's where you draw the line? A little crazy. Michael Chandler, I understand number 6 at first because I knew what the UFC was doing. They were saying, oh, well, if he fights Conor McGregor and McGregor wins, we have to justify a title shot off of a Michael Chandler win. So they kept him at 6. But since that fight isn't happening, there's no reason for him to be number 6. Gamrot coming off of a loss. Before that, he beat Old Man RDA. I mean, not that. And then the Fiziev win was a fluke. Fiziev himself, obviously injured, out over a year so far. And before that, he lost to Gaethje. Dariush coming off of back-to-back losses. Moicano easily should be number 6. I don't know about you guys, but I want to see Moicano versus Dan Hooker instead of Paddy Pimblett. For Moicano's sake. Because Paddy Pimblett, he has plot armor. I just have a feeling that he's not going to lose. I get Moicano, he can't afford to lose, but if he fights Dan Hooker, I feel like it's a more winnable fight. Like, Paddy Pimblett is definitely a better grappler than Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker is dangerous, though, and he can survive. So, if I'm Moicano, I'm fighting Dan Hooker as soon as possible. I'm asking probably for maybe like maybe like co-main event in Tampa, or maybe the featured fight in January, maybe a fight night main event, something like that. Actually, no, he should ask for a fight night because there's not as many good fights, so he's more likely to get a bonus then. So that's what he should do, and if he wins that, he legit could get a title shot, which is crazy to think about. And like I said, Islam Makhachev is just about an Arman Tsarukyan, the only people I'm picking against Moicano. I actually think he would beat Dan Hooker. So that's what I think that he should do. But getting back to the rankings, they're an absolute disgrace, and the UFC has a history of doing stuff like this. The 135 division, Umar, number 2, is kind of crazy. It's not so much that he's number 2, but they gave him a top 10, top 11, I forgot what it was, ranking spot, despite having 0 ranked wins. He beat someone off of his UFC debut. They were like, oh, he looked good against him, so we're going to give him a top 10 ranking. And I know they did it to justify the Corey Sandhagen fight, but you can't do that. You can't give someone that high of a ranking just because of an eye test, Which I get, everything is technically an eye test, but it doesn't make sense. It's completely unfair, and he shouldn't be number 2. I don't care that Peter Yan lost to Merab, lost to O'Malley, which was arguably, went his way, lost to the champ Aljo. You can't, in my opinion, I don't value losses that high compared to someone who hasn't fought competition. So I think that Peter Yan should be above Umar. Figueiredo should be above Umar. That's just my opinion. And then the 170 welterweight division, Colby Covington, absolutely disgraceful fighter, disgraceful performance, last performance. How the hell is he above Sean Brady, who just beat Gilbert Burns? I have absolutely no clue. Colby Covington, his last win was almost 3 years ago against Jorge Masvidal. How is he above Ian Gary? I know people don't like Ian Gary, people don't like Sean Brady, people don't like Colby Covington, but there's no reason for him to be in the top 5. Honestly, I would even put Gilbert Burns above him. And again, it's the same thing. I know Gilbert Burns has lost 3 in a row, but at least he's fighting. So that means something. That means more than being inactive, not fighting. But yeah, Colby, that's another issue with the rankings. And finally, Khamzat Chimaev. No clue how. Again, just like the Umar, they just gave him a ranking. He has 0 ranked wins at middleweight. How is he above Anthony Hernandez, Michel Pereira? I mean, it's just, even Chris Curtis. Yes, he just lost to Brendan Allen. He could have won that fight, though. I think that at least Chris Curtis should be above Khamzat, in my opinion. Khamzat should not be ranked. Again, I know, just like the Umar thing, they're just trying to justify a Robert Whittaker fight. I'm praying to God that Whittaker wins. I mean, it's just they don't deserve the title shots. They don't deserve the title eliminators. It just completely, it's turning into boxing, but worse. Boxing has had a much better year. At least boxing, because of Saudi Arabia, they're putting the fights that people want to see, which was a big problem with boxing for so long. And the UFC has that problem now. They were known as the organization, the best versus the best, the fights that the people want to see. And they're putting together John Jones, Stipe. They put on Cheeto versus O'Malley instead of Merab versus O'Malley. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I feel like the UFC this year has really missed. I feel like this has been one of the lesser years for the UFC. I feel like they're more focused on big events, putting everything into UFC 300, UFC 299. 298 was really good. I guess the Sphere, even though the card, wasn't, it was a good card up until the co-main and main, but it wasn't super stacked. So yeah, that's just my opinion on what I think. Let me know what you think about the Moicano situation. I want to know if you guys think that if you'd want to see him face Hooker or Paddy Pimblett, and if so, who he has a better chance of winning against. I like Moicano. I want to see him win. I like Dan Hooker, but I think that's more winnable for him. But yeah, let me know what you think, and yeah.